friends, this is Hedda. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to this a little bit late October reading journal update. I am coming to you from my living room where there are 6 kittens and 1 adult cat running around all the time. So any background noise that you might be hearing is all them. You will be seeing a lot of them in this video as well because they just can't leave me alone ever. Alright, so October was spooky month. I decided to only read horror or thriller novels and novellas in October. I have done this now 3 years in a row, I think, and I absolutely love it. It's a great excuse to just focus on horror novels instead of sprinkling them out throughout the year. I don't know if it's healthy, but I quite enjoy it. I really love horror movies and books, so this is just an excuse, really. I think I read a good variety of books this year and this October. I actually read 7 books plus one of those like audiobook only novellas. I'm not including a spread for that one in this video though, because honestly I didn't like it at all and I didn't feel like making a spread for it. I'll tell you what it was called though. It's After You've Gone by Margot Hunt. I just didn't enjoy it. I read it because the author's name is Margot, and that's also the name of the mama cat that I'm fostering, Margot. So yeah, it was not great. So I didn't bother making a spread for it. Also because it was kind of the last book I would be making a spread for, and filming this video took me 3 days and I had like 7 hours of footage. It just took me so long because of the kittens and because of the lack of daylight that we're observing now, especially after daylight savings. It's just not the same anymore. Because I needed to fit 7 books onto this cover page for October, I decided to just kind of do a list instead of doing the individual frames for each book, because it would just take up the entire spread, I thought, so I did it this way. I should have chosen a bigger frame, like a bigger list or paper for the list, because it was a little bit difficult to fit all 7 onto here. But yeah, you know, hindsight is 2020. I will be completely honest and say that this is not my favorite reading journal cover page. I like the left side quite well. The right side with the list, I don't know. It's cute, but it's just not as good as I would have liked it to be, if that makes sense. I mean, it's nice. It's just not exactly what I had envisioned. And if you're a journaler yourself or an artist, you know what I'm talking about. Sometimes things can turn out nice. It's just not what you intended it to be, and therefore it's not your favorite, you know? As always, I will be linking products down in the description box below, so if you see any stationery that you're interested in getting for yourself in this video, check out the description box. If the item is not there, it means I don't know where it's from. So yeah, I always get comments about products that I haven't included in the description box, but I try to always say that if it's not there, it's because I don't know. I have received it as a gift in a pen pal letter, for example, so because of that, I don't always know where the stationery that I'm using is from, but I'm listing everything that I do know where is from in the description box. To be the main art piece on my cover page, I chose this really big sticker from Marigona Sully. This is a witch reading with a huge bookcase behind her, and there's like ghosts and black cats and stuff, and I thought it was perfect for October. Usually these big stickers will come as like individual stickers, but this one is on a sheet. I understand why she did that, but I would still prefer it to be single. It would be a little bit easier to make the collage if I had the single sticker instead of trying to and trying to see how much space I would need around it for all the washi tape and ephemera to be visible behind it. So I think this was part of my struggles with the spread, but then again, I think it's something that I'd probably get used to, so it's not the end of the world. I definitely embraced the spooky month theme here in this cover page, and I made it as Halloween-y and spooky as I possibly could, with lots of skulls and bats and ghosts and pumpkins and also books. So I think that it's very on theme, and I really like that, and I like the color palette, like the purple and the green and the orange together. I think that's very nice. The washi tapes are also from Marigona Suli, and some of them are from me in my own shop. The October title sticker is from Paper Monogatari, and that is the final result for the cover page. So let's just jump straight into the horror novels. The first one is Grady Hendrix's book, How to Sell a Haunted House. This one has been recommended to me a bunch of times. I've seen it on like haunted house horror books lists and stuff like that, and I thought I should give it a go. But I have to say, this was not the fun, well, I say fun because I find a lot of horror very fun and entertaining, but this was not the fun haunted house book that I thought it would be. This book was actually like my worst nightmare, and I did not enjoy it at all because it was too scary because of the topic. Because this is one of those haunted doll stories. I don't like it. I avoid all horror movies with haunted dolls and puppets. I avoid reading books about it. So this is one of those times where going into a book blind, like I usually do, has come and bit me in the butt, because I hated this. I gave it 2 skulls. I changed up my rating system for this month, so instead of 5 stars, we're doing 6 skulls, and I gave it 2 because I thought that, yes, it was entertaining and action-packed and all of that, but it was just wrong for me, you know? I think that the pacing was good. The setting, it was interesting, but I didn't care for the topic. I thought that it just wasn't entertaining. So, yeah. It was not my favorite. Even though this is the first spread that I'm rating, it was not the first book that I read in October. I just wanted to get this one out of the way. So luckily it wasn't a horrible start to my reading month, but yeah, still, it was not great. Also, I usually don't like stories where there's so much bad communication, like not just miscommunication, but just bad communication, where people like refuse to talk to each other and that escalates the problem. That is just very annoying to read because it makes me impatient and it makes me not like the characters because they're behaving childish by not talking to each other. And this book did have quite a bit of that, at least in the beginning, the first half of the book. So yeah, that also made me dislike the book more. So I really struggled to get through this one. I don't decide to not finish books very often, and I didn't this time either. It just, I don't know, gives me a sense of accomplishment when I finish a book, even if I didn't enjoy it that much. I know, that's another story. But anyway, for this spread, I also used stickers from Marigona Suli. This is Scully. He's a skeleton who really likes to read, and I've been sitting on some of these stickers since last year, and I wanted to use them. So I combined them with some washi tape, also from Marigona Suli, and then some paper from Notebook Therapy's junk journal. And so yeah, the spread is pretty simple. Like the decor pieces, like the sticker and the paper, they're very big, so they took up a lot of space and they kind of fit with the cover of the book. So I'm quite pleased with that. It's a cute spread despite not being a cute story about a haunted house like I was hoping it would be. Okay, the next book is a Stephen King novel, Salem's Lot. This one is from the 70s, like 1975, I think. So it's a bit of an older one. It's a classic, really. I mean, a lot of Stephen King novels are classics. I read a Stephen King novel last year during Spooky Month, and I thought I should just make it a tradition. And this one I'm really happy that I read. So this one I also didn't know what it was about, but it becomes clear very early on in the book, so I don't think this is a spoiler, that this is a vampire book. It's about vampires. And it's about a town called Jerusalem's Lot, which is, of course, in Maine, USA, because that's where all of Stephen King's stories happen. At least I haven't read a novel by him yet that doesn't happen in Maine. Since the book cover is mostly black and blue, at least this version that I printed out here, I decided to use some of my astrology witch stickers from my own shop, ikigaipapir.com. If you haven't checked it out yet, please do, especially now leading up to Christmas. It is a great time to shop small, so this is me shamelessly pitching my own store to you. I also have an advent calendar this year, and I have a few left, less than 10 I think, so if you want to get it before it's all gone, then this is your chance. I have a few extras of the stickers, but the other products I don't have any extras of, so you know, this is gonna be the only chance to get the full advent calendar. Anyway, I combined my astrology witch stickers with some old book pages and some washi tape from Notebook Therapy. I really like how it turned out. I like the blue actually in combination with the old paper. I think it looks quite cute. You know, blue is growing on me. You can clearly tell from the color I chose for the advent calendar. Anyway, for the title on the spread, I actually went with a pet tape that one of the manufacturers that I'm working with for my shop, they sent me this sample for their like already cut pet tapes. So these letters are all on a roll of pet tape, and I think that another business had this manufacturer make this and then they just use it as samples. So I don't know where you can get it, but I'm pretty sure you can get it somewhere. So if you know who made this, or at least who designed it, please let me know, because I really like it and I'm sure that I will like other things that that business has as well. So yeah, that's my little plea to you. Like, if you know, please let me know. It's really cute because it's kind of holographic, and so it's very subtle, but when the light hits it, it looks really pretty. So I used it to write Stephen King at the bottom left, and then in the top right I wrote Salem's Lot, which is the title of the book. And let's talk about the book, because I never know what to expect when picking up an older book, and this one is nearly 50 years old. And you know, I was pleasantly surprised, I think. I mean, how do I put this? The people in this book is the real horror story. You know, the vampires, the monsters, not so scary, but the characters in this story, they are awful, and they are the real horror of the story, which is probably what Stephen King intended. There's just so many. I mean, the story is a little bit slow because it goes through so many different characters' life stories and inner monologues and all of that, and it did annoy me a little bit reading it, because it made the book very slow, but at the same time it was very effective in showing the reader that the people in this town are all really bad people. I think this book should come with some trigger warnings. There is a lot of like domestic abuse of children, babies even, bullying, violence. There's just a lot, you know? it was pretty awful reading it, to be completely honest. I like stories with monsters because then it's the monsters that's the bad thing, but in this story it's the people, and that makes it feel more real, and that to me is a lot scarier than a vampire. So basically a true horror novel, I would say. And I noticed that there was a new movie, like a movie remake, that came out this year. So of course I watched that as well because I love watching movies of books I have just read. So I watched it, and the movie took out most of the horror of like the characters in the story. It makes sense. I understand why they did it. They also didn't include a bunch of characters, and it felt like a very like old school Hollywood horror movie. So I really enjoyed it because of that. Also set in the 70s, like the sets were great, but it's not the same story. Like it's just about the monster, not about the monsters and the people, you know? So a little bit different, but I understand why they did it. I don't think a movie purely based on the book or like closer to the book would be a hit with most people because of all of the violence and the bad people. It would just be a very different movie. The movie they did make is just delightfully Hollywood horror, and it's fun. Well, I think it's fun, but I really like horror movies. But it wasn't trying to be artsy or different. It was just like a classic, a good old classic horror movie. I don't know if I would recommend the book to people. I think this is one of those books that you read at your own discretion because there's a lot in this book that could potentially be very triggering. And yeah, that's it for Salem's Lot by Stephen King. Now, before we move on to the next book I read, let me introduce you to Tony. He's been a real menace. He's not very smart, but he is very cute, as you can see. He is really adorable. I love him so much. Anyway, the next book I read is The Watchers by A.M. Shine. And this book I read because, speaking of movies again, I saw that there was a movie that had come out called The Watchers with Dakota Fanning. And I thought, that sounds fun. I want to read the book before I watch the movie. And I went in blind again. I mean, the cover looks great. There's like a forest and a girl, or two girls, or mirror, or whatever. And I really enjoyed this book. So it's set in Ireland, and it draws upon Irish folklore. I don't know how accurate. I would say it's inspired by Irish folklore because I don't want to accidentally insult any Irish people who are watching this. I love Ireland, by the way. I've only been once, and I definitely want to go again because it was wonderful. Anyway, this book, it's wonderfully full of horror and a little bit of adventure. It was perfect. Exactly what I wanted to read this month. It's about a woman who accidentally kind of ends up in this forest, and she can't make it out again. And she meets these people who are staying in the forest, and there are some monsters, creatures in the forest watching them. And it's such a fun premise. I say fun, but when I say fun, it's like exciting, entertaining kind of fun. It's not funny, you know? The way I talk about horror books is, I don't know, maybe it's a bit unusual. I don't have that many friends who enjoy horror as much as I do, but yeah. I think it runs in the family because my mom, she laughs at horror movies. Like, she thinks they're funny. I don't know, maybe something's wrong with us. I really don't want to spoil anything from this book, so it's a little bit difficult to talk about it, I think, because of that. But basically, very exciting, very action-filled and a very interesting premise. Now, I don't know very much about Irish folklore, so a lot of this is new to me reading this, and I might not see connections that someone who is more well versed in Irish folklore might see. So yeah, anyway, here's a clip of Astrid, one of the other kittens, just hanging out, I guess, on my desk, and you can see how incredibly messy my desk gets when making these videos, because I need so many different types of stationery, like different color schemes and themes and stuff, and instead of just cleaning it up between each spread, I just add onto the desk, that is, and so the end result is incredible mess. Yeah, but anyway, really enjoyed the book. It was written in 2021, and I also watched the movie, of course. I wasn't as impressed with the movie. They changed some things to, I don't know, probably make it more cinematic or whatever, but they changed some pretty significant things that made it less enjoyable for me, I think. But they also added some things that was very entertaining, so I don't know if I can complain too much. But yeah, it's always exciting. It's, I guess, bittersweet sometimes watching movies of books that you like quite a lot. Margot, please. Please no meowing right now. She has started to meow a lot. She's become very vocal, and I don't always know what she wants, because she sounds like she's suffering greatly every time, and it could be anything really. So yeah, anyway, where was I? Movie. Yes, oh my gosh, please. They did change some things in the movie that I didn't agree with. They made some things a little bit more obvious that were a little bit more hidden in the background in the book, but I guess that's how it usually is, so I'm not going to complain too much about that. But if I were to recommend one of the two, it would be the book. I always really enjoy horror stories that have elements from folklore, and so I guess this one just really hits the spot for me. As for the spread, I used a lot of stickers from Paper Monogatari, and then I used some paper ephemera and other stickers that have been gifted to me, so I don't know where they're from. The black grid washi tape, I'm pretty sure, is from MT, and you know, other stuff is some from Notebook Therapy, some that have been gifted. The girl stickers I bought in Japan, and here I'm just getting really distracted by a kitten who just won't leave me alone. This one is Elfrid. You can tell because she's missing some fur on her ear because she's had parasites. Don't worry, all the kittens have been treated, Margot as well, so no more parasites, but it will take a little while for all the fur to grow back. To be quite honest, this is just a perfect depiction of what my life is like these days. There's always at least one kitten on me at all times. So yeah, journaling has become a group project. Filming videos is a group project. Editing them, a group project. Anything really. So things move a lot more slowly these days because of that. I am trying to not let it stress me too much because I know that, you know, it's just for a short period of time. The kittens are here for 3 months and then they're moving to their new homes. So I'm trying to just savor and enjoy the time that I have with them, with everything that comes with it. So I bet I'm gonna miss these journaling sessions with the kittens when they're not here anymore. So yeah, trying to just enjoy the moment. And you guys wanted me to leave all the kitten disruptions in the video, so here you go. Here they are. You know what? While we're here, let me tell you the story of the kitten that you're seeing right here, because this is Elfrid. Elfrid is not Margot's kitten. Okay, so Margot had 5 kittens and Elfrid is the 6th kitten. She is a couple of weeks older than the other kittens, and I got a call from the organization that I'm fostering through saying that someone had found a kitten on the highway and they'd taken her to the shelter, and she needed to be somewhere with a cat mom and a cat family because she was only 5 weeks old. So most likely they said someone had dumped her and possibly other kittens, but they only found her. So she moved in with me, but she had the cat flu when she came here, so she had to be isolated for a week until she had a few days without symptoms before I introduced her to the rest of the litter, because I didn't want anyone else to get sick. She really bonded with me during that week because she had to be in my bedroom all the time. I had to feed her, teach her to use the litter box, play with her all the time, just basically give her lots of attention. And so she still sleeps in my bed every night under the covers, and she's just on me. If I sit down, she will come to sit on top of me, and if I lay down, she'll come to lay on top of me. So we've become really great friends. And now she's only going to be here for another 3 weeks or so, which is really sad, but for now I'm really enjoying her company. She's actually purring next to me right now because she can't leave me alone. And here you see her on the screen again because she is just very curious and just wants to be where I am basically all the time. Her new owner is very lucky because she's a lovely cat. Okay, so the next book I read, this was actually a coincidence. I didn't know that a sequel to The Watchers was being released in October, but it was. It's called Stay in the Light, and it pretty much starts up fairly soon after the first book ends. I am not super enthusiastic, I should say, about sequels to books like this because I felt like The Watchers was very good on its own. It ended in a very good way. It leaves the story open. It's kind of an open ending, but it wasn't necessarily laying the groundwork for a sequel. So I was a bit surprised when I saw that this was coming out, but I decided to read it because why not, you know? It was an interesting story. And the sequel is a little bit different. It definitely has some more creepy elements to it in a way, while being very different. I don't want to say too much because I don't want to spoil anything, but I think that the second book ended in a way that opens up for a third book. So we'll see, maybe there will be a third one in a couple of years. Who knows? I would read it, I think. Okay, so for this spread, I decided to switch it up a little bit. Like in the previous spread, I had a white background with some like black decor, but for this spread, I decided to glue in some black paper and use that as the kind of base for the spread. You guys, I do miss my old Neapolitan reading journal, the notebook that I used in 2022 and a little bit of 2021. I don't know if you guys remember it, but it was the first notebook that I really filmed a lot and made more reading journal videos with, and I miss it sometimes. It had black paper, it had craft paper, and it had white paper, and I really enjoyed that. It was so much fun to have the different colored paper, and it was like a new challenge every time. So if any of you know of any stationery brands that sell notebooks like that, I'd be really happy to learn about them because I would love to have a notebook like that again. And Archer and Olive doesn't make them anymore, and I haven't really seen them anywhere else. So yeah, if you know, please tell me. I think a whole notebook with black paper is a little bit too much commitment, and a whole notebook with craft paper might be a little bit too much commitment. I'm not sure. I haven't decided on my next reading journal notebook yet, so who knows? I might decide to go for a blackout or a craft paper notebook like that, but for right now, I'm just missing the Neapolitan. To decorate this spread, I decided to go for very muted green and white because I have these Lily of the Valley stickers from Lila Journals. I really love them, and they're kind of a staple from her. Maybe her signature flower, I don't know. I also used some of my own black alphabet stickers, and I used a green girl sticker that I also got in Japan. It might be from Mindwave, I'm not 100% sure off the top of my head. I combined this with a film roll washi tape from Paper Monogatari and some like silver corners that one of you guys sent to me in a pen pal letter. I think they're mostly used for scrapbooking because they have a little bit of thickness to them, so they're not just stickers. I mean, they are stickers, but they're not like flush with the page. I think that they were a nice addition to the spread though, so I'm glad that I put them in there. I kept the decorations pretty minimal because I had already kind of limited my space with the black paper, and I do think that it turned out quite nice. This little guy is Magnus. He is the oldest kitten. He was born first out of all the kittens. He has a twin who is called Elias. They have exactly the same markings, except Elias has a little black dot on his chin, while Magnus doesn't. He is the one who looks the most like Margot, I would say, because of the pattern in his face, and he's really, really cute, and he's always been the biggest kitten as well. Well, except for Elfrid now, but he is the biggest of his own litter, and he's really cute. He is quite naughty as well. I was able to use my black pens for the little quote that I've started putting in the bottom of the column on each reading journal spread. Do you guys like this new like structure that I have to my reading journal spreads? Because I didn't used to do this, but sometime during this year I started doing these little panels or columns on one of the sides of the spread with a little bit of information about the author and the book, and also book cover, a little quote. It's nice to have a little bit of structure, I think, but what do you guys think? To write on the black paper, I used my Ohuhu white gel pen. I really like this one. I have a few of the same white pens, and I was able to go over some of the lines a second time to make them a little bit thicker to give the illusion of a brush pen, because I don't have a white brush pen that will show up on paper like this. Does anyone make brush gel pens? Like, does it work with a brush? I don't know. This one is fine to write with though. I really like it. So it's a little bit thicker than pens that I normally write with, but I think that's inevitable when it comes to white gel pens. I think they have to be a little bit thicker to show up properly, so it's all good. So yeah, bottom line is I enjoy this type of storytelling. I enjoyed the stories, the horror in these two books, and again, they made me more interested in learning more about Irish folklore. So if you guys have any recommendations for books that talks about Irish folklore or blends Irish folklore with other fiction, then I'm open to it, because this was really fun and exciting. So yeah, I think I would recommend these books, especially the first one, to anyone who wants to read some interesting horror. And if you have read these books, let me know in the comments what you thought about them. The next book I read in October was an old classic, because I thought, oh my gosh, kittens flying everywhere. I thought that I should read a classic horror novel as well. So I decided to read the book about Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, because this is a story that I feel like I've always kind of known, because these characters show up in other movies and other literature, but I never read the original. So I decided to pick up this one. And honestly, you know, I wasn't very impressed. I mean, first of all, it is difficult to read books written in the 1800s for me. I find it very difficult. They also write very differently than what I'm used to from current literature, you know? So there's definitely a big difference there. I guess my biggest gripe with this book is that it's marketed as horror, but it's not scary at all. Like, there's nothing really scary about it. And everything is just very in your face. Like, everything is explained at the end. They have these, like, I guess chapters where the different characters involved are kind of explaining what happened to them, like in a letter. And so it felt very childish, maybe, or like not very advanced literature wise. But then again, it was also the 1800s, so I have to kind of look at it through the lens of the 1800s, and I don't have a very helpful lens when it comes to that because I haven't read that much old literature like that. So take what I say with a pinch of salt, because I'm sure there are those who are really into older literature that see the great parts of this book. It's just that I personally didn't find it scary or entertaining. It just feels very old-fashioned. Well, obviously it is old and not very interesting. But I don't know, maybe it was revolutionary back then. Who knows? I mean, it was probably a novel concept back then, but it's just trying to be a little bit philosophical about how everyone has good and evil inside of them, and that's what Mr. Hyde is representing. Dr. Jekyll is like the good part of the person and Mr. Hyde is the bad part. So in that sense, like, I get that part. It's just that I was expecting something a little bit different, I guess. So it's on me. I need to manage my expectations, especially when reading older novels like this. But yeah, this one was a bit of a struggle to get through, so luckily it's not very long. You guys, as soon as I got the pet tapes out, the kittens just went crazy. They really liked playing with the pet tapes, and because it took me several days to film this, I had just pet tape laying around on my desk for 3 days, and the kittens absolutely loved it. I mean, the washi tapes too. Anything they can bite, they love. I think they feel itchy in their teeth, I guess, so they just want to bite everything, including me, including my stationery, my pens. The calico kitten is Astrid. She's very sweet. She's the only girl of the litter, so she got a sister when Elfrid was adopted. The rest of them are boys, at least I'm pretty sure. We'll know for sure once I take them to get vaccinated in a week or so. But yeah, the pet tapes, these are from Notebook Therapy, and I really wanted to use these. I hadn't had a good excuse, I suppose, to use these. They're the Into the Library set from Notebook Therapy, and I combined it with some old pages from a book. It's a Swedish book, and it's printed in this Gothic font, so it looks really cool, and it just worked really well with these pet tapes. So I decided to just make smaller collages with the pet tapes, just thrown around the page. And to be completely honest, I didn't have that much to say about this book because of my, I guess, negative view of it. So I just had fun making these little collages and just writing around the collages. I really love these pet tapes, and I'm so happy I got them. I think I'll be using them a lot in my next reading journal setup probably, because having a library theme in a reading journal is just perfect. Also, making stained glass pet tape is a stroke of genius, in my opinion. That is the best use of pet tape I've ever seen, I think. I also don't think that you can really appreciate the like gold, almost holographic details on this pet tape with the stained glass and everything unless you see it in real life. At least I can tell from looking at the video right now that it's not showing up the same way that I wish it did. I just went back and looked through all of the videos that I've posted on YouTube, and this is by far the longest one I have ever made. And I'm not gonna lie, it has been a bit of a struggle to record this voiceover, because even though what you see and hear is a 1 hour long video, me talking, my voiceovers take me maybe 3 or 4 times that time because I will say something wrong, or I will just start blabbering about something completely unrelated, or I won't know what to say and I have to really think about what I'm going to talk about, or something happens to the sound file and I have to redo it. You might have noticed that there were some issues with the sound in my November Plan With Me video, and honestly, I don't know what happened there because it was fine when I exported it, so something must have happened in the exporting process, and I was so overwhelmed and stressed out, and you know, I had too much on my mind and I couldn't handle fixing it, so it does have some issues, and I got a lot of comments about it, but I couldn't fix it. I couldn't deal with it. Hopefully this video is without those issues though. I would be very sad if I record an hour of voiceover and the sound is messed up. I don't know what I would do. Okay, so something weird happened when I was making this spread. I think I got very distracted by the cats because they were just everywhere. And I was thinking about this quote from the book, and when I started filling out the spread, I started writing in English. And if you pay attention to my reading spreads, I actually write all of them in Norwegian because it's nice for me to have somewhere to write down my thoughts in Norwegian. That is my native language, so it's what makes the most sense to me. But I am very used to writing in English as well. So I somehow ended up just writing this spread in English, and I noticed about halfway through and I was like, well, this is a little bit different. Something is not right. And it was just because I wrote in English instead of in Norwegian. So yeah, at least now you can read what I'm writing, because most of you aren't able to read my reading journal spreads when I make them in Norwegian. And here we see Margot stopping by to say hello. She will also come hang out on my desk quite a lot, especially now with the kittens. Sometimes she uses my desk as a refuge to get away from them, and sometimes they just take over. As you can see here, they are a menace to her as well. This is a really sweet moment though. I'm really glad I caught it on camera because she's kind of teaching them to fight, and sometimes it looks like she's biting them quite hard, but I think it's just parenting, you know? I don't think she would do much damage anyway, because Margot's canines, is that what they're called? The teeth, like the long teeth. She's like broken them somehow while she was a street cat. So both of the top ones are broken off and they need to be removed, but it has to wait until all of her kittens have been adopted, because she will need a lot of medication like painkillers and stuff like that when they are being removed. So it has to wait until she's alone. So yeah, I feel really bad because it must be painful for her, but it would be really bad for the kittens if they got the medication through her milk. So I'm following the vet's instructions, and I'll be taking real good care of her once she's on her own without her kittens. I think she will be a lot more relaxed and probably happier too when she's the one getting all the attention. Anyway, that is it for the spread for The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde by Robert Louis Stevenson. I will not be reading it again. I'm glad to have it over with. So we can move on to the next book that I read, and the next one is a novella, I guess, because it's not very long, 145 pages. This one I think is kind of like an American classic. At least when I read about it online, that's the way people make it seem. This is the Stepford Wives by Ira Levine? I'm not sure how to pronounce that. But this is from the 70s. So another 70s book this month. It is marketed as feminist horror. That is an interesting genre. I don't think I have read anything that's been marketed as feminist horror before. Pretty sure that's the perfect genre for me though. So yeah, not upset about that. I will now have to explore the genre of feminist horror. I'm sure there is a lot more good books in that genre. So, you know, I was excited to read this one. This one popped up actually on my Audible account, and I figured I would try it, just listening to it, because it's not very long. So it's the kind of book that you can listen to in one day if you are so inclined, which sometimes I am when I'm doing very repetitive tasks. For example, if I have a cleaning day in my apartment, or if I have a packaging day. I've had a lot of those recently with the advent calendar. So I decided to listen to this one, and I was very happy to have a pink book cover, because then I could do something a little bit different than the other spreads that I set up for my October reads. So I went for a very springy vibe with pink and green, and I think that it turned out really cute. But anyway, this book is a very interesting book. I really enjoyed it. I think that what was so great about this book is that the horror is very subtle. Throughout the entire book, you don't really know for sure whether something bad is happening or if the main character is imagining it, if you know what I mean. Like, something is definitely off, but you don't know how bad it really is. And even the ending is very subtle. It's not, you know, fed to you on a silver platter. That how you say it in English? Silver platter? Anyway, excellent execution, I think. There has been at least one movie made out of this book, but to be completely honest, I watched the trailer and it didn't seem as good. I would probably rather read the book. I also noticed some parallels between this one, or not parallels, similarities maybe, between the storyline in this book and the movie Don't Worry Darling, which is a newer movie. It's not the same story, but it has similarities. So if you enjoyed that movie, then maybe you'll enjoy this book. Now you might be surprised why I chose to read The Stepford Wives and not Rosemary's Baby, which is arguably more famous from this author. And I think I will read Rosemary's Baby, actually. But maybe I'll save it for next year's spooky month. I've already started compiling a list. But yeah, I would recommend this book. And it's also so short that, you know, it's not a huge commitment reading this book. And I really enjoyed it. By the way, the book stickers and the girl sticker on this spread is from Marigona Suli. I'll have links in the description box, as well as links to everything else that I have links for that I used in this video. So that's it for the spread for the Stepford Wives. And we can move on to the final spread and the final book of this month, which is another novel about Irish folklore horror. I was actually so captivated by The Watchers that I wanted to read another book by A.M. Shine, and he doesn't have very many books yet, and this was the only other book that I could find. It's called The Creeper. It has a very similar cover to The Watchers and Stay in the Light, so I guess he has a bit of a theme going on, or his publisher does. And yeah, this one was, while slightly similar, it was very different. For this spread, I wanted to use some of my new stickers from Blossom Bujo, and I decided on the kind of witchy sticker sheet, which I'm really happy that I chose. It has really pretty colors. This book is definitely a bit more on the gory side, at least towards the end. Gore is not my favorite type of horror. I'm definitely more of a haunted house and ghosts and monsters type, and not so much gory violence type. But you can't always have it the way that you want when you go in blind into every book and refuse to read anything about what it's about before you dive in. So I reap what I sow, I suppose. As far as I know, this is a standalone novel, and the main character is a student, and he gets recruited by this professor to go to a very remote village together with an archaeology student and kind of interview the people living there. So right off the bat, this really speaks to me because it has an element of exploration, which I really like, an adventure. There's a mystery, and also like coming to this village, you don't really know what's going on. It definitely has similarities in style to the movie Midsommar, which is similarly cult-ish with horror and gore. Although the creeper leans more into isolated community with lots of folklore and superstition and a mystery, and also an element of horror. I love that you don't really know if there is something supernatural going on or not in this book. In The Watchers, it's pretty clear that there are monsters, while in The Creeper, even at the end, I'm still not sure. For this spread, I combined the stickers from Blossom Bujo with some washi tapes from the Love Lock washi tape set from Notebook Therapy. I really like this set, and I have a lot of stationery and I don't get to use everything as often as I would like, so that's why I love having a reading journal where I can do a different theme on each spread with a different color scheme and everything. And the Love Lock set has mostly like muted browns and beige, but like a hint of pink. And so I thought that it was perfect for this spread because the sticker sheet has a lot of deep pinks and yellow. So the yellow kind of becomes this contrasting color. On a completely different note though, I can't believe that I only have 2 more months to fill up my reading journal. It definitely will not be full, but I want to start a new journal for 2025, so I will be switching to a new notebook. So let me know in the comments if there's anything in particular that you would like to see me do, either in this journal for this year or next year's journal. I think I would like to do some kind of recap or yearly awards or something like that for all the books that I read this year. So let me know if that's something you'd like to see. And also, like I mentioned before, I'm so on the fence about which notebook to choose for next year, so please help me out. Maybe I can do some polls or something over on Instagram so you can help me pick a new notebook. I also want to take into consideration if there is a particular type of layout or format that you find interesting, because my reading journal is a group project at this point, you know? It's not just mine anymore, it's yours as well. If we're talking about just the amount of books read, I'm pretty sure October is my best reading month yet. It's not often that I read this many books. I guess I just got carried away with the horror novels, and maybe this just means I need to read more horror throughout the year, because clearly I needed some kind of itch scratched. If you've read any of the books that I talked about in this video, please let me know your thoughts on them. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree? I'm completely open for a discussion. I'm also trying to update my Goodreads account a little bit more often because I just updated it earlier in September or October, and I realized I hadn't updated it since January, so clearly I need to be better at keeping up with that. So you can go follow me there if you'd like. I will try not to make my next reading journal videos as long as this one because it took a long time to film and edit and do the voiceover for, and I am pretty exhausted at this point, and maybe you're also tired of hearing my voice 55 minutes later. But with that being said, I'm really grateful to everyone who watched this video, especially those of you who have watched it all the way to the end. So be sure to put a ghost emoji in your comment to let me know that you watched it all the way to the end. I hope that you enjoyed the kitten disturbances included in this video. I just couldn't remove it. You know, they're part of my life right now, so I had to keep them in the video. If you want to see more of them, I do post some stories here and there about them on my Instagram. I have it linked down below in the description box. And that's it. That's the books I read in October and the spreads I made for them in my reading journal. We'll do a little flip through as usual so that you can have an extra look at all the spreads together. I hope that you enjoyed watching this video. Big thank you to each and every one of you who did watch it. And also an even bigger thank you to all of my patrons. You guys are the best. There is a link in the description box if you want to join my Patreon. It's a great place. We have a Discord server. There's stuff happening all the time. There's even a book club. So yeah, come join if you want to, of course. My next video will be my December bullet journal plan with me video. So keep an eye out for that. And I guess that's all there's left to say. I hope that you're all having a lovely day, and I'll see you next time. Bye!